why is it wrong to kill me, or why do I have a at least prima facie right to liberty? Like, what is it? Something about me?
Oh, I mean, one reading of that question is like, why do I believe that? Or like, what's the
Yeah.
evidence for that? And the answer to that is, well, like, I have intuitive reactions to different scenarios. And it turns out that almost everyone shares my reactions. So, like, you think about somebody just going down the street and just like killing somebody just for no particular reason. Uh, Almost everyone except for psychopaths,
Right.
has the reaction that that's impermissible. So
Yeah.
it just seems wrong.
Yeah.
And then you might say, but you want a theoretical explanation for why that's wrong.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. So a possible explanation is maybe there's a rural utilitarian explanation.
Okay.
So like, well, society works better if we have certain rules in general. Okay, now you could like keep pushing it and say, well, why do we care about society working better? But that, or what do you mean by society working better? Well, so
Right.
like overall, there's going to be more utility,
Yeah.
right? But this isn't the traditional utilitarian view, because on the traditional view, you don't have to appeal to general rules. You just do the individual act that maximizes utility. So I like this might be right, but I don't have a lot of confidence in this
Okay.
explanation. But then if you ask, oh, so why do we care about society working well in that sense? Then I'd be like, well, this is just like a fundamental basic truth.
Okay. Okay. So it's as fundamentally basic. It's like unanalyzable. It's a brute fact.
Yeah,
Okay.
like harm is bad, benefit is good. Like
Yeah. You just see it or you don't.
we should benefit more and harm fewer people. And so
But is it something like it's something about the nature of persons, right? That like I have well, I have a right to bear arms or own a gun, but maybe my dog doesn't have that right.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if your dog has the right. I mean, so like I don't think that he's able. Like I don't think that his paw can even pull the triggers.
Man,
So
some of these like Patriot Supply companies, man, I'm sure they're coming up with it right now.
yeah,
Get your dog a gun too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, you had this, image of like the family where everybody has a gun.
Yeah, yeah. I was
Uh,
to the listeners. There's this funny meme that people share. They say this is like how Europeans think of Americans. And it's a
yeah,
barbecue, and everyone, even the dog, has a gun, and
yeah,
they're like scooping up brats and burgers with their guns, and that's how
yeah,
we do in America. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, um, oh yeah, like, oh, does somebody who's unable to do A have a right to do A? Well, first I have to figure out what that means.
Okay.
Like, does that mean that hypothetically, if they somehow did it, that you should let them do it? I guess. Like I guess if somehow a dog shows up and he like tries to buy a gun and like somehow he's able to carry it, I guess you should let him do it. I don't know.
Well, yeah. It's funny. It actually, I don't. It's silly, right? But this is kind of what philosophy is like. If someone did an experiment on a dog and they were able to communicate in English, and maybe they had some kind of contraption for pulling, and yeah, and they go to a gun store, does does the Second Amendment apply just to humans in America, or does it apply to any like thing that can get to the level of being a person in America?
Yeah. I mean, I would think that it would apply to, like it would apply to anyone who was able, right,
Huh.
able to own a gun and use it,
Okay.
and didn't have any disqualifications, like they weren't a murderer or other violent criminal, or they weren't crazy.
Yeah. So that could apply to like aliens, right? So aliens
Yeah,
come here, and I don't know the rules. Maybe I should know that better. Like if you're on a green card, if you can own a gun or not. But like an alien becomes if an
yeah,
alien becomes a U.S. citizen, then that seems like for sure they'd be able to own a gun because U.S. citizens can.
yeah.
But
See, now I'm not sure if we're talking about alien humans or
oh,
space
sorry, aliens from different planets. Yeah,
oh,
sorry. Yeah, I,
sorry,
I use
like the
green
space
cards.
aliens.
Space aliens. There we go.
Yeah,
Space alien
yeah,
shows up, and it's like, do they have a right to bear arms in
yeah.
our country? or is
Yeah.
that just
So
for humans? Yeah.
yeah. Like this is why they have the right to bear arms, because they have lives. Presumably, they value their lives, and it's wrong to kill them. And if you have a right to something, then you have the right to defend it. If somebody tries
Okay.
to violate your rights, then you have the right to take forceful action to stop that from happening. Having the right to defend your rights entails having the right to possess effective means of doing so.
Yeah. So this could apply to like an ostrich as well. Like this ostrich has this right. Yeah, it seems right. Unless I don't know, if someone soups up ostriches and gives them like laser beams on their head, it's like to
Yeah,
help them, to maybe neutral out the playing field. I don't know why I
yeah,
picked
yeah.
ostriches,
Yeah,
but
I
it's
don't
like
know what
no,
the ostrich's natural enemies are, but
yeah, cheetahs. But if they, I'm thinking of like a PETA scientist, someone who's really well and really a good engineer who's also a huge PETA fan, and they want to even out the playing field between humans and non-humans. Yeah, and they're giving all sorts of animals different weapons
yeah,
to protect themselves. Do those animals have like a right to? I mean, they're alive. Do they have a right to bear those arms?
no. I don't know about that.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm tempted by a utilitarian view about non-human animals,
Yeah.
like just maximize utility or whatever. So then they wouldn't have rights per se,
Okay.
but it might be promoting utility. I don't know. It depends.
Oh yeah, sure. Because you got to think about that. But then if you're you if you do go in for that view, it seems like there's something special about human persons, right?
Yeah, and why? I
Yeah.
mean, again, first I would say, well, like there's just intuitions, like
Yeah.
so there are pretty strong deontological intuitions that are just very widespread when you give these examples involving humans, and I take it that there just aren't such strong intuitions when you give examples using non-human animals. So
Yeah.
there is a non-human animal that's healthy, but you could kill it and take its organs and save five other animals, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's one dog that you could, if you kill it, you can save five dogs' lives. Is that wrong? I just have like a much less strong reaction to that.
Yeah.
Okay, now you could ask, well, what's the theoretical explanation? So I don't know. That's a lot less clear.
Yeah.
Um, but like if when I entertain, sometimes I entertain rule utilitarianism as possibly like whatever explaining our intuitions. So, well, there are different consequences of having rules depending upon like whether you're talking about intelligent beings, you can understand those rules or not.
Yeah.
So like people will, so in the version of rule utilitarianism I think is most plausible, appeals to the effects of a rule being the socially accepted morality.
Mm.
So like there could be a socially accepted moral code in a society, and you're supposed to think about what would be the best socially accepted moral code. Okay, and it's just that there are different effects of rules depending upon whether they're applying to people or non-human animals.
Yeah.
Partly because the intelligent beings will understand the rules and then they will modify their behavior in reaction to that.
Yeah.
And so like this is an example I think I gave in a blog post. Like, okay, organ harvesting. What if there was a rule that doctors, if you're healthy, doctors can just like come and kill you and take your organs, if that would save other people's lives. And so, like, here's a thing that you could imagine people doing. You could imagine people deliberately sabotaging their bodies so that if they're
Oh
killed,
yeah.
all their organs are destroyed.
Yeah.
And they would have to somehow publicize that they had done this. And
Uh-huh.
so people would do this so they wouldn't be killed
Right.
to get their organs. And so, but now you realize that that's not a better situation, right?
Yeah.
And so, but animals wouldn't do that.
Right.
If there was a socially accepted morality that you get to kill an animal to take its organs, animals would not do anything to try to sabotage that.